You know, we're surrounded by information all the time, right? News headlines, scientific studies. But have you ever stopped to think, where does it all come from? Well, it all starts with one crucial thing, data collection. And understanding how we get that data, that's the key to, well, understanding pretty much everything. So let's get into it.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the two main paths researchers take to get data. Then, we'll zoom in on two really powerful techniques. First, just watching people in action, which is the observation method, and second, actually talking to them, the interview method. To wrap it all up, we'll look at how you figure out which tool is the right one for the job.
So, right at the beginning of any project, a researcher hits a fork in the road. It's a really basic choice. Do I go out and create brand new information from scratch? Or do I use information that someone else has already gathered? This one decision pretty much shapes the entire journey.
I mean, think about it for a second. If you need to figure something out, what's your first move? Do you start your own little experiment, or do you hit up Google or the library? It's the exact same choice researchers face, and it leads us down two very different paths.
Okay, so that first path gives us what's called primary data. Think of it as data that's made to order. It's fresh, it's brand new, and it's collected for the exact question you're trying to answer. Then you've got the second path, which is secondary data. This is kind of like using leftovers, but in a really smart way. It's information someone else already collected for their own reasons, and now you get to repurpose it.
And this image here shows that fork in the road perfectly. You see, primary data on the one side. That's all about going out and getting your hands dirty, creating something totally new. And then on the other side, secondary data is more like being a detective, sifting through clues that already exist in government files, company records, you name it.
To make this a bit more real, think of it like this. A researcher gathering primary data might be out there conducting interviews or just watching how people behave. But someone using secondary data, they might be digging through census reports or poring over academic articles. Both methods are super powerful. They're just totally different tools for different jobs. Okay, let's open up that primary toolkit, shall we?
So, let's explore one of the most direct ways to gather that fresh primary data, the observation method. This is all about learning not by asking questions, but by just watching. Now, the official definition here is key. It's a systematic process. So this isn't just casual people watching at a coffee shop. It's a carefully planned recording of what's happening. And the most important part, without communicating. The whole point is to see what people actually do, not what they tell you they do. Huge difference. And what's really cool is how flexible this method is. A researcher could actually become a participant and join a group to see it from the inside. Or they could stay detached as a non-participant. They could use a really structured checklist if they know exactly what to look for, or just keep it unstructured and open to surprises. And of course, you can do it in a controlled lab setting or out in the real world where things get messy.
But of course, no tool is perfect, right? There are always trade-offs. The huge plus side is that you see real, spontaneous behavior, not what someone remembers doing later. But yeah, it can be super expensive and take a ton of time. And you can't actually read people's minds to know why they're doing something. Then there's this really fascinating thing called the Hawthorne effect. Just think about it. How do you drive when you know a police car is behind you? You change your behavior, right? That's it. The simple act of being watched can change everything.
Okay, so if observation tells us what people do, how in the world do we find out why they do it? For that, we need a totally different tool. Let's talk about the interview method, which is all about getting data through good old-fashioned conversation.
An interview is so much more than just firing off questions. It's a social interaction. It's a dynamic back and forth that's designed to uncover not just the simple facts, but the whole messy, complex world of someone's opinions, their feelings, and what actually motivates them.
I just love this quote. It really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? An interview isn't just about collecting information. It's a real human-to-human attempt at understanding, where one person genuinely tries to see the world through someone else's eyes. And just like observation, interviews aren't one-size-fits-all. You've got your structured interviews, which are basically like a survey read out loud, super consistent. Then you have unstructured interviews, which are the complete opposite, more like a casual exploratory chat. And somewhere in the middle are semi-structured interviews and focus groups, giving you the best of both worlds.
The number one reason to do an interview? The incredible depth of the data you get. It's so rich. But the downsides are pretty big too. They take a lot of time and money, and there's no anonymity. But maybe the biggest danger is something called interviewer bias. Just by phrasing a question a certain way, like saying, "Don't you agree that?" an interviewer can accidentally nudge someone towards a particular answer.
So we've looked at the two big paths, primary and secondary data, and we've dug into two really powerful tools from the primary toolkit, which brings us to the big practical question.
I mean, with all these pros and cons flying around, how on earth does a researcher decide? Should they observe or should they interview? Is there one method that's just better?
At the end of the day, it all comes back to the original research question. It really boils down to this. If you want to know what people are doing, their actual behavior, observation is your best bet. But if you need to know why they're doing it, their motivations, their feelings, their perspective, well, then you have to talk to them. You interview. There's no magic bullet here. Every single choice is a balancing act.
And that kind of leaves us with a pretty cool thought. All around us, right now, there are countless stories playing out. You can see some of them in what people do, and you can hear others in what people say. Some are just waiting to be observed, and others are waiting to be told. The only real question is, which tool are you going to use to find them?